Okay, everybody, so I thought it would be worthwhile to share the physical layout of my distance learning. Because I've gotten more and more and more efficient, and I'm actually really happy now with, with how things are going. So here's the fundamentals. I've got like my teacher workspace over here on the left, and I have my class set up in front facing forward. I think it's worthwhile to have two workspaces. So that way my teacher in class workspace doesn't get cluttered, even though it might look cluttered. All right, so on my teacher work desk, the most important thing, of course, are the screens. And I really encourage folks to develop 3 screens. I think 3 screens is awesome. I've moved my desk. It used to be over there in that corner facing outwards towards where the students would sit. I've moved my desk into the middle of the class now, so that I can use the projector as a screen, an extended screen, right? So total I have 3. And here's how I use them. The projector is always the Google Meet call. Now, I don't have any students on here, but you can imagine when students report to class, I have the grid view app. I have if you can see up there, I have the grid view app installed, and it's the grid view. Here, let me pull this down so you can see it. It's the grid view that's green. See if I can get that in focus. There you go, that's green. The black one does not work. You have to get the extension that says fix, grid view fix, and the extension is green, right? So that's really useful. You got to have the grid view on there to see all your kids. And then you can see up to 49 kids in one call. Fortunately, I don't have 49 kids in any of my call, right? So I can see my entire class. All right, so on the big screen, on the projector screen, I keep my students because, right, like I want to see their faces as big as possible. And then down here on my desk, I have 2 screens. This screen right here on the left, that screen, that's my share screen, right? So anything I want the students to see during class, I put on that computer. So when I'm presenting, I'm going to present my screen now, right? I choose this screen. And voila. Well, you can't see it now, but I'm presenting this. So students are seeing my face on the left hand or the right hand side of their screen, but most of their screen is this computer screen, right? And then on this computer screen, I have like a whole bunch of stuff that I share with the students to help lead class. I have a textual summary page, right? Like this class text the previous day was about a student, Mia, who is from South Africa. So here's the textual review from that day. I typed this live based off the interview that we had with that student on the Google call. So students are like watching on my screen share as I type this text. And then, I underlined vocabulary that was new or tricky. And then I asked comprehension questions. All the normal stuff that I would usually use my projector for when the students are in class. I now use this computer and share it via the screen share functionality. Some other important documents that I keep on this computer ready are also a document I call daily questions. So as we go through class, I type in daily questions that students have to answer. I'm going to show you a little bit more about like how they answer those questions in the virtual organization of my class, rather than a physical organization of my class video. So stay tuned for that. It'll be coming out next, later on this week. This other computer screen I find useful for myself for a lot of different things. Like while I'm in class, sometimes I need to monitor things that I don't want the students to see. I'll show you a good example. This is a Desmos screen. Let me press the anonymize feature. So none of these names are my students. They're now like famous mathematicians. So I use Desmos to ask comprehension questions and track student participation. Now, a lot of times I move this screen over here, which makes it invisible from the students, right? It's just for me for monitoring. So like I can tell what question students are on, who's actively engaged, and then I can also press the teacher mode up here and then see like individual responses from students live. And I'm going to talk more about Desmos and how I use it in the distance learning like technology video. But I just wanted to share that sometimes I want students to see their classmates' answers. So I move it over to my screen sharing computer. And many times I don't want them to see, but I still want to see. So that's why I use a third screen. It's super important, right? I can't like throw the screen up there. I can't throw this Desmos screen up to the projector because that would cover up all the faces, and I like to monitor my students' attention up there, right? So I throw it over here. Uh-oh, I don't know what happened there. Let me open everything back up. There we go. And, ooh, I think I was on questions from class. All right, so that's the physical layout of my computer screens. Obviously, like it takes some technology, right? So, I've got my projector cable rigged up here, and in the back here, the VGA port is being occupied by this screen. So that means that the VGA cable that the projector is hooked up to doesn't have a port to connect to because my laptop only has one VGA port. Fortunately, my librarian had a VGA converter to HDMI. So that's what this is right here. This is the VGA male. This is a female VGA to HDMI converter. And then that's the male end that plugs into my computer's HDMI female port. Another little tiny thing, but adding all these little tiny things together, it comes up with a good system. I have placed my computer that has the webcam like recording my face up above its normal like height, and that's because a lot of times I'm looking right here, right above my webcam at my students. I'm like making eye contact with my students, not the webcam, right? So I lifted the computer up so that way it doesn't look like I'm looking way above. It doesn't look like I'm looking way above the screen. It looks like I'm more or less looking at the students. And raising your computer up helps with that. But it also means that you need to have a mouse and a keyboard because it's really straining, to like lean over your computer when it's raised up during class. And you need to be fast. To make this thing work, you need to be fast. So you need to have a mouse, in my opinion. And then the keyboard just makes things more comfortable. Over here, I have all my question words in yellow. Which, how, where, when, all the question words. And then on the back, so like I have it labeled so I know which one's which on the front. But the students see this side. So, cuál in the target language real big, and then the English definition below, right? So I just like hold that up to the camera every time I ask a question, just because, it's better to be more obvious right now in distance learning than lose students in the process. And then over here I have, what I think are the highest frequency words in Spanish. I have them in the present tense and the past tense, right? So here's wants, here's does, or makes, here's is, here's goes. So once again, I have them labeled small on the front, and then the students see that side. I've put the second person singular form and the third person singular form, and then the definition below, right? I know that doesn't capture all the usages, right? Doesn't have any of the other tenses or forms. But, if you put all that stuff there, it gets more confusing from the student's point of view. All right, and then in the past tense, of course, Spanish teachers out there know There's two past tenses, the preterite and the imperfect. For each verb, I chose the most frequently used form, right? So like for to do, the preterite is almost always used, right? Like, what did you do over the weekend? Now, what were you doing? The imperfect form is used sometimes, but to simplify things, I've chosen, the preterite or the imperfect. So, what students see, I've labeled the yo form and the to form on the back for questioning and answering, right? Anyway, you can change that up however you want to, but I think it's important every time that I use one of these high frequency verbs at the beginning of the year at least, I'm holding this up to the camera to clarify. Soon, I hope to just be able to use a gesture and move a little bit faster. But for the first couple of weeks, I don't know what they're understanding, so it's good to be overly explanatory. Right. Well, I think that's basically my system. I hope that you found that useful. The three screen thing is super important. I would definitely encourage you to reach out to your neighbors, your family, your school community, Facebook, and see if you can track down some screens for free to borrow, because that makes things way easier. All right. Check back in a couple days for digital organization, for how I'm organizing my lessons digitally. Thank you.